I was just contemplating a few things that are at the back of my mind today. Effects and influences, or things that affect us by influencing our existence, the way we are, the things that we do. It's kind of like a game of sport of some sort, football, basketball, take what you will. No matter how hard the team tries, no matter how good their trainer is, no matter what skills they possess, suddenly when they're up against the opposing team, things don't go according to plan. You ever wondered why? No matter what they do, no matter how hard they try, it just doesn't gel. Team doesn't fit together. One particular person may think he's holding his own against everybody, and the usual happens. The success that they were hoping for doesn't happen. Now, what can cause that? Think of another scenario. You get out of bed, you eat your breakfast, you go to work, and perhaps you're thinking that you hope your day will be okay, and suddenly things just don't happen. Again, they don't gel. Maybe the boss seems to have it in for you, or you fear he does, and no matter how hard you try, you struggle, and you get through the day, you go home in a bad mood, only to face another subject matter. Life's full of these things. It kind of winds you up. It's interesting that all you got to do is to try to find a way to get to the end and come out on top. Some people are lucky enough to do that. Some people are born to be like that. Others, they take their knocks, and like some of my friends over my years, they just couldn't hack it. They lost their strength, they lost their mojo, and life went on for them on a downward spiral. But that's life. Now when you think about it, were they destined to be in that situation? That's another subject matter. Destined. Destinations in our lives that we have to reach to get to the point where we've come to life's end, and when we look back, did everything go according to plan? Did some of the things that we've experienced overpower us? And then you start to think, well, what was it? Where could I make changes? Well, when you think about it, these changes we go through our lives with, they are needs to teach us in many ways, because they are necessary for our spiritual enlightenment. If you consider how tides change, how seas can be calm one minute and then suddenly a storm brews, and then look at all the problems it creates in the world, and then it affects us. Now what I'm saying is these effects of life, we have to take them, we have to endure. We can't make them go away, we know that. They're part of life's cycle. Always have been and always will be. But that's life. And we understand it. We're intellectual and intelligent enough to understand what our lives are all about. But do we think deep enough? Yeah, I was just thinking that we go through our lives with positive thoughts in our minds perhaps, and One of the things that I was just talking to somebody back there, and someone who had a very cheerful disposition, a positive attitude, and what happens? It rubs off on us. We pick up on that positive energy, and we too are affected. Think about it. You go to see comedians. How do they make you feel? Cheerful. You go home, the copycat principle comes along and you start trying to remember the jokes that you heard in order to make other people happy. Now what happens if you watch a dark movie? Something sinister. You're scared out of your wits. Ever thought about it? How do you really feel inside if you watch too many? Negative can come one way or another. It gets into you. It's an energy form, as I once mentioned before, and it affects us. But a positive attitude, that's different. It lifts the spirit. You go home and you affect the family. You're in a good mood. Or their understanding is that what they've experienced is very beneficial, is positive, because once they cross over and go back to the spirit realm, they have to take this with them and consider their lifestyles and how they can modify it. That's good. Now consider if you intermingle with negative individuals, the downers. It affects you too. Now consider being a light worker, a medium, clairvoyant. How can you do your work if you don't experience what other individuals experience in their lives, like loss, bereavement, the kind of sufferings that other people have to go through? How can you do your work? In order to become one must first experience what other individuals experience. One must feel loss to know loss in order to have empathy with individuals who have lost. One must feel bereavement, experience bereavement, in order to help those who are bereaved. One has to know hospitalization in order to have empathy for those who work in hospital. Think about it. There are so many aspects that you have to go through your life if you wish to become a light worker in order to be more enduring with these people. Help comes in many forms. Spirit gives you the chance to work for the light, but you cannot know light until you have experienced darkness. Take that on board. You cannot know the devil until you've met him. Now know God. What's it like to be closer to him? You don't have to be religious. Religion isn't an aspect in my book. Religion is just a pastime for individuals to fulfill their needs. Religion is a principle with its own values that has no significance to the understanding of the concept of the true doctrines of the vision of perfection that is the creator of all living things, God. So religion keeps a balance for people, but is troublesome. All across the world we understand that. It is the creator of undoings The makings of war. And war we do not want. But then again, war is a necessity for bringing people to heal. Think about it. There are certain groups of individuals that have gone through our life and other people's lives before us that seek to control the system, control the work on behalf of the dark. And war is created with mankind. But in order to bring now all that energy, negative energy, those individuals to heal, war has to be created. War must fight war. That's life. Yeah, one of the things I was talking to you about earlier was about children having a world of pretense, to be able to imagine things that are beyond the here and now, that are beyond the physical, a world in the mind. So what do you see when you look at this tree? Branches. But if you take a closer look, you should notice that this particular tree seems to have biceps, an elbow, and outstretched arms, especially on the right hand side. And then from that you can discern a rib cage or chest, and then you can drop down to a waist, and then you come onto hips, and then down onto thighs and kneecaps, and then down to the shins and down to the feet. This is where you stretch your imagination beyond the human side, our side, and start looking at the tree's point of view. Can you see a face? Or what else can you see? If you see nothing, then perhaps you have to train your mind a little bit harder than what other people do. If you brought a child here, what would they say? What would they see? But that's the difference in being a clairvoyant medium, is you stretch your mind outside of our physical being, if that's the right word, or our physicalities and start to look at a tree that has a life form. All living things on earth have spirits, all sent by God, all sent to help humankind. The tree's point of view is that it has a responsibility to perform or keep the standards required of it. Its job, as we know, is to keep us alive. So, in my point of view, this tree has a soul, like all trees have a soul. Whether you are big, small, or just a tiny sapling, you are a life form with a limit of existence on the earth plane. This life form must adhere to standards as we must live on earth and adhere to standards. We have a job to perform. This tree has a job to perform. It's not just a tree. It is a world of wonder. A world that is not imaginary, it is real, it is spiritual, it is God's realm, a kingdom. For every single living being, every single living thing has a job to perform, a duty, a standardization, an expectation to perform to the best of our ability on behalf of God. This is Loch Katrine in Scotland. It's a beautiful place. Like many other people, I come here to absorb the beauty of it all. But then again, one special reason for me is to try to resolve the answers to certain life's questions. Answers that concern us all, really, that many people will actually ignore. But in my case, I like to dig a little deeper and try to get to the bottom of issues. Things like why we go through our lives, creating things, absorbing things, things called adages, trying to understand things that are important to us, things that can be of family value, things to do with love, things to do with money, every kind of situation within our lives where we raise our standards, we build our hopes, we dream our dreams, and we create a better life for ourselves and for our families. And then one day, for some strange reason, it all seems to get taken away from us. But the answers for me seemingly get hard to find. It is an understanding like a pair of ducks I've just been watching over there and a pair of geese, and that they go through their lives creating new families. They're fighting the elements all year round, cold bitter winters, and for them it becomes an understanding of survival, to become stronger, to become unique, to live their lives for the value of family, so that their future generations can be moving on stronger, better, perhaps fitter. And that makes me think that it's almost the same as ourselves. In fact, some people might think that it's the same as ourselves, that our future generations will become wiser, more understanding, an unwarlike race of people who know no value in anything other than life. And the reason why I came here is to get rid of what we call in our lives garbage. And maybe when I leave this place I'll be a better for it. Who knows? But for the time being, just to sit and absorb the spiritual side of this place is fantastic. Maybe you should do it one day. Why not?